Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of New 202. I'm your presenter, Shabu RU, and today we're going to recap issue number 253. Now, this is the third in the Special Mission series. It's actually part of the main title of IDW's G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. But again, it's Larry Hama at his finest. Like, we've been through the whole ninjas. Now we're going into the special missions. And the first one, we looked at Stalker. Number two, we looked at the Baroness. And the third issue, we're looking at Duke. And kind of like what made Duke to be the type of leader he is in G.I. Joe. I'm going to be honest with you and come straight out and say, this was a very difficult issue to read. And not in the sense that it was bad or anything like that. But like a lot of veterans and that suffer from this, reading this issue brought back some memories that veterans can relate to. You're talking about going on a patrol, being ambushed, and someone close to you dying. So for a lot of veterans, this issue could be traumatic. So that's why I'm giving a warning beforehand. It's What's interesting is when you read G.I. Joe as a kid, it's always a fantasy. It's always about, something, it's fictional. But what makes Larry Hama so good as a writer is he's drawing in things that he went through in Vietnam and putting, this shit really does happen, and it's not like, Lolly La Land where in other cartoons there's a mystical sword that transports you or these giant robots. No, this is real world stuff. So that's why this issue is very good, but also it comes close to home. So without further ado, let's dive in to issue number 253 of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. Special missions focusing on Duke. We kick off during Duke's pre-G.I. Joe time in the U.S. Army. What is interesting is this takes place in what I imagine to be during Operation Desert Storm and not Vietnam. I think this was a good call on writer Larry Hama, an attempt to keep G.I. Joe relevant to today's generations. Now we have the cover here which says Special Missions. Duke is in charge of the convoy through a fake Afghanistan Abyssinia. With him are Roadblock and the driver, Marine. And here we have Marine talking about her good luck charm. Marine reveals that she'll be leaving to return stateside. She used her GI Bill education for bartending school and will work at the family restaurant. She's very excited and looking forward to be back with her family. And it's immediately that, I think of Scarlet when I see her. But, she's a great character. Duke warns the others to stay sharp and be focused. It's a perfect place for an ambush that's coming up ahead. And then we see the insurgents can be seen ready to spring their ambush. Now, what occurs next is the very nightmare that many veterans relive every night. And the onslaught begins. 2 bullets come through the cabin. One graces Duke's shoulder. The other goes straight through Marine's cheeks. Ouch. But still, she collects herself and regains control of the car and tells Duke to stay focused on the ambush. Duke knows that they are sitting ducks, and as the enemy has the high ground, he calls for air support while Marine zips the Humvee around like a race car driver just so a roadblock can pick off the enemies. As you can see, the airstrike was successful, just in the nick of time. But the remaining insurgent forces come down and descend upon them. Their target is a fuel tank. Seeing this, Duke begins to think. He rallies his guys around him and decides to use the fuel tank as a bait. So his whole thing is trying to set up this ambush, or not ambush, set up the bait. So again, these insurgents are pretty stupid because they're just following hook, line, and sinker right into Duke's plan. As we see, Marine is still bleeding, but still pushing along and driving the Humvee. They pick up people, any people that are injured. Duke returns fire, gets them. So, Marine is still pushing on, pushing forward, and positions the guys so the ambush their bait could get sprung. But then after everything is done, she passes out. They realize that Marine took a bullet right in the femoral artery, so she was bleeding out. Several months later, Duke returns stateside and goes to the restaurant. He tells Marine's brother of his sister's valiant and heroic actions. And at the end, they said him and Roback are going to take this special assignment, which would turn into G.I. Joe. Next month, we're going to look at Destro. And that's it for this month's comic review. Thank you for watching. Bye.